So with the release of the brand new variations that we can apply on our Exalted weapons, that being Desert Storm, Umbra Blade, Garuda's Talons, Atlas's Fist, with each one now being able to apply new and different mods, we now can have really, really interesting builds. So one of the ones I love going to and continue to use is Baruuk. Baruuk is such a phenomenal frame to use because of his Desert Windstorm. Windstorm? I just mixed up his attack with his actual thing. But due to how strong it is and how powerful it is, it's unbelievably useful in what it can do due to the fact that it can now hold arcanes and like, holy crap, it's one-shot that. Blood Rush, Weeping Wounds. Since they can now run those type of mods, we're now able to increase our crit chance. The higher our attack combo is, we're able to do a lot more with it. And it just overall is unbelievably powerful. As you can tell, I was able to just basically one-shot that Backlight, and here I am just dealing with all the ads, and nothing really is picking up a challenge. But what happens if I mix things in there like my 2, which I have now made be Kullervo's Helmet ability? Well, as you can tell, I now have, well, guaranteed exclamation mark crits. It's one of my go-to options. It's phenomenally strong, but obviously, what is the build I'm using overall? Well, I will go back to the Simulacrum and show you the build there, because now you've seen what it feels like it does on ads and overall on an Acolyte. And I really just hate these missions because you don't get a lot of oxygen anymore. But I will see y'all back in the Simulacrum. When it comes to the build I use, it is a variety of changes for Desert Wind Prime, but when it comes to Baruuk Prime, there's only like a few builds I like running, and this is one of my go-tos. One of my go-tos being still charged for my Oreo slot because it does indeed affect his Serene Storm. But if you wanted, you could easily use things like Brief Respite, Growing Power, stuff like that. When it comes to the overall mods, I like Elusive Retribution because when I use the Elude, I gain more attack speed and melee crit by 5% up to 6 attacks, which will last 6 seconds. But since I'm always being attacked, it's always going up. I like Reactive Storms so that whenever I'm using my Desert Storm, I get 250% stash chance, and it matches my enemy's weakness. On top of that, I get overextended for more range, Blind Rage for strength and negative efficiency, Prime Flow for more energy, Prime Continuity, and Prime Redirection. This will make sense in a bit. Prime Fury for melee damage on crit hits, Arcane Strike so I get attack speed, and Precision Intensify for my Serene Storm. Now, when it comes to my Desert Wind Prime, it's variable with how you like to play and what you're going up against. Personally, for me, I like Melee Retaliation, so that I gain 30% melee damage for every 200 current shields, up to 420%, having it halved for overshields. We use Galvanized Steel, or you could use Sacrificial Steel and Sacrificial Pressure. We have Primed Reach for more range, Blood Rush, because now that they are able to be applied, we can now increase our crit chance even further. Galvanized Elementalist, I don't think I have to explain this one. It's very nice. Prime Pressure Point, more base damage, helps a lot. Galvanized Reflex, so on heavy attacks we get efficiency, but on melee kill we get initial combo. This way I never have to worry about dropping below 5 times, meaning Blood Rush is always getting a good amount of percentage. We have Organ Shatter for more crit damage. If you wanted, you could also run the Gladiator's Might for the 60%, but a 10% chance to increase your combo, like your crit chance per combo multiplier. No, not chance. Sorry, that's the other ones. This is one. It is dependent if you like it. Just change how you like. And I also have the same build, but with heat. Depends on what I'm fighting. And I don't think I have a... Oh, yeah, and I do have another one. This one's with electricity. Same thing. I tried this with a influence build and didn't feel all that good. Now, how does this work in a more controlled setting? I'll show you real quick, and I'll give you my thoughts on how Baruuk is with the new changes. All right, so with my restraint being at the lowest amount, I'm able to proc my Desert Storm. Now, without having any of my augmented ability, that being my Wrathful Advance, which will give me 149% melee crit chance, what does it look like with its base damage? Well, I'd say that's pretty nice. After all, I am just using the weapon by itself, and I'd say that's hitting phenomenally. Now, what happens if I mix it with Wrathful Advance? Well, as we all have seen with a lot of my builds, it's going to increase it a lot. I mean, look at that. That's so nice to see. And obviously, it will continue to go up as you, oh, I missed. No, I didn't. As you continue to get your combo count up, since you have Blood Rush on, and with the addition of, well, Blood Rush, you'll continue to increase it. That's why if you wanted to, you could use Gladiator Might and get even more of that with it. Now, how about Scaldra? They're tankier than the Orcan. How does it fare against them? Well, I'd say about the same thing. I mean, these are 195 Steel Path enemies. Only ones that are still tanky is him because, as we already know, he is resistant to ability damage. Now, what about the Tech Rot? When it comes to the Tech Rot, you would use the fire build I made, but it still can work on them with just pure toxin, as you'll see here. Pop, 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 pop. I mean, look at that. Phenomenal damage. Amazing. That's why I really like using these. One of my go-to options for a lot of the missions in 1999. So if you don't like Wrathful Vance, try something else. Try Gloom. Try not Pillage. What is it? Yeah, I guess you could try Pillage. Try whatever you think would fit best. It's all personal taste. Now, I'm gonna head back to the back rooms so y'all can, well, get my final thoughts. When it comes to the change that came with Tech Rot Encore, being that all the Exalted weapons were now able to get mods that we originally couldn't run, you would think that it would give a variety of builds. Sadly, most of the builds you see nowadays are influence builds, but having a fresh breath of fresh air is very nice, seeing builds that don't use them. So that's why whenever I used Baruuk, I thought about using melee retaliation here. He has a ton of shields. Build into that. Get even more shields so you have even more damage. Other Warframes like Excalibur, he can have influence builds or he can run similar builds like slam builds, stuff like that. Korra, she's better with a influence build because of how her whip claw functions. Other frames that we could include would be Gara. When it comes to Gara and her Shattered Lash Prime, you can use a melee influence build, as you see here I tried doing, but other things you could use are melee exposure, since you're using the ability to get corrosive damage. You could try melee duplicate, melee retaliation as well if you wanted, stuff like that. Finally, on other Warframes like Ash, since I don't have my Ash Prime anymore and I didn't want to go farm Railjack for a basic Ash, with him, I don't think you would ever want to build for influence. Instead, I think you would build more towards taking advantage of things like melee fortification, maybe melee retaliation, not melee retaliation, sorry. Melee duplicate, maybe even melee animosity, since you are using the ability, melee animosity is on melee hit gain crit chance, maybe that works. Or maybe melee exposure, since on ability cast you gain 6% corrosive damage, which is, well, his ability. He's getting corrosive damage when he uses it. But I'll have to test that whenever I do get my Ash Prime. Now, I thought about making a new series. Do tell me what y'all think about it, where I cover weapons that are not the most popular options. Things that I like that maybe not everybody else does. If you want to see stuff like that, tell me down below and tell me the options you may want to see in the video. But other than that, I hope to see you guys in the next one. I need assistance. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out, everybody.